Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of How Has Rebecca's Life Taken Another Left Turn? So, yes, I'm assuming that you have seen the title or thumbnail of this video and clicked on it because you are curious as to how, yet again, my fire plans are changing. If you are new to the channel and this happens to be your first episode, let me get you up to speed here. My name is Rebecca. I am recently married. I am living in North Carolina, working my way towards financial independence in order to retire early. And this channel has been documenting that process for years now. And I have changed plans a couple of times on the channel. And the plans to reach financial independence and retire early are once again changing. Now, of course, going forward, things are always continuing to be subject to change, but given recent events in my life, I need to change plans again. So what is going on? First of all, let us review the plan that I was working to reach financial independence and retire early. So as I mentioned, I am recently married. I got married in January at the Ice Hotel in Sweden to my Swedish now husband, Christopher. And the whole experience was magical. The plan was for me to return here to the United States and we would start his visa process to get him immigrated over here. And we did start that process. Thankfully, I have not actually officially petitioned for him yet to come to the United States because as we have now delved deeper into exactly what it means to immigrate here, how that's going to look for him financially and everything, we have discovered that it's pretty much not going to be possible for him to live here permanently and move here. It just financially will not make sense for him to do that. Again, to catch you up to speed if you're new here, Christopher is already fired. He's reached financial independence and retired early. So naturally, if he immigrates over here, he needs to find banks and brokerages in Sweden that are dual citizen friendly and will allow him to continue his investments like he wants. And basically due to tighter FATCA laws, which are laws put in place by the United States, and just complicated taxes, basically. European banks, the vast majority of them do not want to deal with U.S. persons because our tax system here is so complicated that it's just easier for them to deal with the citizens of their own country. And so that has become a major obstacle for Christopher because if he moves here and the banks and brokerages that he currently uses find out that he is a U.S. person, has ties here, essentially they can kick him out. And if you are in the financial independence retire early movement, then you know how devastating that would be to all of a sudden become unbanked and have your entire portfolio potentially sold off all at once. Especially now, while the markets have been struggling so much, right? Also, right now, another not ideal situation that we knew about ahead of time, at least, is the foreign exchange risk right now. The US dollar is very strong. And so for Christopher to transfer over all of his assets over here, then there would be some foreign exchange risk there, which kind of sucked, but we were prepared to deal with that if we had to. Anyway, suffice it to say that the FATCA laws have ended up becoming a huge hurdle for us, and we don't see a way forward for us where Christopher is able to immigrate here and live here while I continue to work and pursue financial independence. So that was our plan that we had come up with together. The thought was we would get married, start his visa process, get him over here, and he would live with me. I would continue to work for the coming years and pursue financial independence. And during those years while we were here living together, we would then know if Christopher liked it good enough here that we could just stay here and fire, and then, we would figure out what to do as far as where we would live long term, what we would do for health care after I reached financial independence and stopped working. We would take a look at the Affordable Care Act, most likely, figure out how to stay within the subsidies and stuff that they offer, and et cetera, et cetera. We would have figured that out at a later date and come up with a plan of how to fire here in the United States and live happily ever after the end. But if Christopher lived here and decided that, the U.S. is really not his cup of tea, then, we would have at least known that, and we could have planned to go back to Sweden at a later date, which again would have been another sort of financial hurdle, but we could have probably figured out a way to work that if we wanted to. Anyway, so that was our plan. But if Christopher cannot immigrate here, then the plan has to change. And this is the new plan that we have come up with. If you guys have been with me for a while on the channel, then you know that I have been sharing this financial journey for years, and every month I share my percentage progress towards my FIRE number, how close I'm getting to financial independence. Now, that number was based off of a portfolio value that I had in mind in order to declare myself financially independent and be able to stop working, retire early. So, since Christopher cannot move here permanently, as you may have already deduced, the only option that we have then is for me to immigrate there. Now, I am nowhere near close to financial independence yet, so I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm going to continue to live here and work here in the US like I have been doing. But because being financially independent in Sweden is going to look different than how it would look if we lived here, my financial independence number is changing yet again. And if I am going to live in Sweden permanently, then that means that I don't need to focus as much on a portfolio value. I have never calculated my financial independence number off of my net worth, but I am going to start doing that now, because once I reach my financial independence number net worth, basically, I will start making motions to move to Sweden, which means selling out of everything that I have here in the US. So that net worth number is actually going to be the number that I need to look at in order to call myself financially independent, not a portfolio number that I plan on living off of if I was going to stay here in the US. So basically, that means that when you guys see the May budget review this month, that my percentage progress towards my FIRE number is going to go up dramatically, because I am now looking at a net worth goal, not just a portfolio number goal. So in a way, that's a good thing, right? Because it means I should be able to reach financial independence faster and retire early faster and be able to move to Sweden and live happily ever after there. But it's also very scary for me. I mean, moving countries is a big deal, and it's just a scary thought, you guys. But I'm trying to think of it as looking at it more like a life adventure, versus just uprooting myself and leaving everything that is comfortable and familiar. But it's still a very intimidating thought to think about uprooting your life completely, moving 5,000 miles away where I don't even speak the language and have no family, obviously, except for Christopher, and live there permanently. Yeah, it's an intimidating thought, but I feel like more so than ever, I am trapped, really. If he can't come here, then the only choice is for me to go there. And the US has made it so incredibly difficult for us to just be together that this really is our only option. So, we'll do what we have to do. The more we have looked into the laws that are in place about our situation, the more negative things we have discovered. So I'm trying to focus on the positive, but I tell you, here in the last week or two, I have been through all 5 stages of grief about this situation, really. I have had denial, I have had anger, I have had the sadness, I have had bargaining, I have had acceptance. And honestly, there's still a little bit of anger about the situation, but right now I am mostly at the acceptance stage of our situation, and I am just trying to come up with the best possible plan for us to move forward together. And basically that's where we're both at. But like I said, the more we have looked into the laws surrounding the current situation that we're in, the more negative things we've found. So since Christopher won't be moving here to live while I'm still working towards getting to financial independence to retire early, we needed to make sure that we were clear about how long he is actually able to stay here in the US just to visit me, right? We can continue doing what we have been doing, which is just visiting each other back and forth and staying as long as we can. Well, if you want to have a fun time, you can go to the IRS website and look up a rule called the substantial presence test. Let me just read you a small snippet of this from the IRS website. The substantial presence test states that you will be considered a United States resident for tax purposes if you meet the substantial presence test for the calendar year. In order to meet this test, you must be physically present in the U.S. on at least 31 days during the current year and 183 days during the 3-year period that includes the current year and the 2 years immediately before that, counting all of the days you were present in the current year, 1/3 of the days you were present in the first year before the current year, and 1/6 of the days you were present in the second year before the current year. We, for weeks now, have been reading lingo like this, you guys, and it's so frustrating. I had no idea how convoluted the United States government makes all of these rules. And you guys, I mean, if you've been with me for a while, you know already that I am a healthcare worker. So I'm already slightly disillusioned about how broken our healthcare system is here, but now I have had the pleasure to find out how broken the immigration system that we have here is as well. It's just been a whole gamut of emotions for the last week. But continuing on about this substantial presence test, closer to the bottom of the page, it states that even if you meet the substantial presence test, you can still be treated as a non-resident of the U.S. for tax purposes if you qualify for one of the following exceptions. And one of the exceptions listed is the closer connection exception. And please refer to this other IRS page to read more about that. So we clicked on that and read that the closer connection exception to the substantial presence test means that even if you met the substantial presence test, you can still be treated as a non-resident alien if you were present in the United States less than 183 days during the year and had a closer connection during the year to a foreign country in which you have had a tax home for the entire year, which is Christopher's case, and had not taken steps towards and did not have an application pending for lawful permanent resident status, which Christopher does not. So, yeah, he meets the exception rule to this test, meaning that they can come after him potentially for tax purposes just for visiting me here, because one of the things they look at as far as establishing a closer connection to the United States is whether you have family here or not. So since we got married, we are family. And even though Christopher is not a U.S. citizen, the U.S. can still come after him for tax purposes if he visits me too much. So I'm telling you guys, this entire thing just has both of our heads completely spinning at the moment. And yes, I have reached out to both the immigration attorney that we have been speaking to and my personal CPA to ask about these laws and rules. One, if there's any way around them, and two, if they're actually enforced, because we had never heard of anything like this before. And I'm waiting to hear back from both of them. But I mean, as terrible as this sounds, it's fairly clear. The IRS, if they chose to, could come after Christopher for tax purposes if he just visits me too much here. And we cannot risk that because, again, the FATCA laws being as tight as they are, Christopher cannot risk becoming unbanked in Sweden and having all of his portfolio sold off, for instance. So we are stuck in a rock and a hard place. And this is what I mean by me saying that I feel absolutely trapped. I need to get to FI, you guys. I need to get there as fast as I possibly can. So you may be wondering, why don't I just move to Sweden now and find a job there and work? Well, if you've been with me for a while, like I mentioned, I do work in healthcare. I'm an ultrasound technologist, so I do ultrasound for a living. And when it comes to Sweden, the position that I work here in the US doesn't technically translate over to Sweden exactly. The doctors there, from my understanding, perform their own ultrasounds. So there aren't really ultrasound techs in Sweden. And even if I did find an ultrasound job there that I could do, again, I don't speak the native language there. That would be a challenge. 2, taxes are higher there than here. 3, from what we have read, I don't think I would make as much money there. So it would be delaying my timeline to get to financial independence. So the best option seems to be for me to just stay here and keep grinding as much as I can at my current job and get to financial independence as quickly as I possibly can. And we will continue to visit each other as much as we can without trying to break any of these rules. But you guys, we're just at a loss, really. Completely frustrated by the situation because, I mean, I don't understand why the U.S. has to make it so hard for someone to come here and live and spend their money. I mean, if you have an answer for that, I would love to hear it in the comment section down below, because that is essentially all we're trying to do here. I'm trying to immigrate my law-abiding husband, who is not going to be a drain on the system in any way, shape, or form, over here, so we can live together and he can spend his money here and we can be together. Like, I don't understand why the U.S. has to make this so difficult. But like the saying goes, there's no use in crying over spilled milk. And like I mentioned before, I am mostly in the acceptance phase of this whole grief process, which it really kind of has been. I have accepted the fact that this is the current situation and some things are out of our control, the laws being one of them. So we just have to work within the confines of the system that we are in. So that means that the new FIRE plan is for me to reach a net worth. And the positives are that the net worth goal that I need to reach is lower than the portfolio goal that I had in mind before if we had decided to stay and live here and be fired. So that is the one shining light to all of this, is that I can hopefully reach financial independence faster now that I am more focused on a lower net worth goal than a certain higher portfolio value I had in mind before. I am, of course, going to keep you guys updated every month as I get closer and closer to this net worth goal. So that is the one good thing that may come of this, is that I could reach financial independence faster. But just because I reach this net worth goal sometime in the future does not mean that I am turning in my work notice the same day and just flying over to Sweden and living happily ever after. I have things here that I would need to take care of first. For instance, selling this house. And I have other things to think about, like my pets. You know, I have a dog and a cat, and so they would need to go with me over there. But my dog is currently a 5-year-old Irish Wolfhound, and that is not young for that breed. Their average lifespan is 7. So, you know, I of course hope that he will live a long and healthy life. And I mean, they're called heartbreak hounds for a reason. That is the nickname for that breed, because they are shorter lived. But let's say that I reach this net worth goal in 5 years from now, and Rollo, my wolfhound, is 10 years old. Y'all, that's too old to try to move a 150-pound dog 5,000 miles across the Atlantic to Sweden. So, you know, I have other factors in life that are going to affect when exactly I declare myself financially independent and try to move to Sweden. But, yeah, I just wanted to get this video filmed. I don't even know when I'm gonna upload this video because obviously we don't know everything yet. We're still trying to find out details and find out some kind of way where it would be possible for Christopher to come here, but it's looking bleak enough at this point that I thought I would go ahead and just film this video and get it up sometime and share with you guys my thoughts about where we're at. Neither one of us had any idea how complicated this situation was going to become, and it really does make me sad to think about living here by myself for years, continuing this grind, trying to get to fire, and not being able to see Christopher as often as I would like. But you know, it is what it is. This is the confines with which we have to work. So y'all are going to see that I will be clamping down my budget as much as I possibly can. Every extra dollar that I get is gonna go to investing because I need to get to fire. I need to reach financial independence and retire early so that we can actually be together as a couple, apparently. So yeah, that is where things are currently at for us. I sincerely hope that I will make a follow-up video at some point in the future about some kind of way that we have figured out how to be together over here, but it's not looking hopeful at this point. So that being the case, it means that I just have to buckle down and work harder and get to financial independence as quickly as I can. So I appreciate you watching all the way to the end of this video. If you've made it to the end, I know it was a little bit rambly. I should have written down some notes and thought points for me, but yeah, this is just how I roll. And honestly, it's a little bit therapeutic for me to just sit here and get it out and just say it out loud, you know, the situation that we're in. Recognize it, accept it, and start working harder to get to financial independence faster. So I do sincerely appreciate it if you've made it all the way to the end of this video. And if you are a channel member, then keep a lookout in the membership section. I am going to make a video for all channel members, going more into detail about the actual net worth number goal that I am working towards, and I'm having to change around brokerages and everything because these FATCA laws, you know, if I move over to Sweden and I'm a dual citizen, then I'm going to run into the same problems as far as being banked in Sweden and, you know, handling my investments. So I am going to make a separate video about how I plan to do that as an American citizen living over there, and I'll fill you guys in on all the details about the new net worth goal for my fire number. So yeah, thanks for watching, you guys. I'll catch you in my next one. Bye, y'all.